Hi everybody. So, we all know Mass Effect 2, right? Literally one of the best games of all time. I fucking love it. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm gonna talk shit about it today. That's the premise of this video. There's one thing about Mass Effect 2, well there's multiple things that I think are kind of shitty, but there's one massive thing that I don't like about the game that I want to talk about today. Now keep in mind, I love Mass Effect. I'm not kidding, I have played Mass Effect 2 about 5 times. I finished it 5 times. I even played it on Insanity once. So, you know, I have played this game quite a lot. I think it's so much fun. But, very big stinky but, however, one thing sucks. The story. The story is abysmal. I want to talk about it today because I've been thinking about it recently. Because when you're playing the game, I didn't really care. But then later on, like late at night, I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking, I was up at night thinking about the Mass Effect 2 story. And it's kind of shitty. And I'm just gonna talk about it today. Mass Effect 2 does something which is very interesting, and I like. It's a very different approach, especially from the other 2 Mass Effect games. Because Mass Effect 2 is probably the best example of it's about the journey, not the destination, you know, that old phrase. It's literally a game where the point of it is like the friends remade along the way, which I like. What I mean by this is that Mass Effect 2 has more of a focus on its characters instead of its story. And so honestly, it kind of feels out of place in the Mass Effect trilogy because it doesn't link up with the other ones as well. It feels like, you know, there's the big story of the Reapers and the big, like, world-ending threat. Not even just world-ending, galaxy-ending threat. Mass Effect 2 is just buggering about, like, it's kind of a side plot, which isn't a bad thing. Like, that isn't what I'm critiquing the game for. I like this approach. It's like you have to assemble a suicide squad to go on this suicide mission, surprise. Which is a cool idea, I think, because it's not something that you see that often in games. Like, most of Mass Effect 2 is recruiting new squad members or doing loyalty missions for those new squad members and talking to squad members and, like, getting to know all their, like, traumas and all their daddy issues and all that. This does have the benefit of Mass Effect 2 having the best characters out of the Mass Effect trilogy. Also the best romance. I think romance is done best in Mass Effect 2. So as I said, I like this approach because the characters feel more... they feel more like friends in this game. I feel like they introduce a lot of new good ones and there's some returning ones. It's cool. There's also a lot of, like... the way they do it is kind of... I don't know if... I think it's probably the best that could have done it, but it's kind of lame. Like, you have to upgrade your ship and do the fucking loyalty missions, otherwise they just die. Like, a disloyal hacker or whatever just gets shot in the face. Kind of stupid, some things, like the way that things change if you haven't done the loyalty mission. Or, like, if, like, Miranda and Jack get into a fight and you don't have enough Paragon or Renegade, like, one of them becomes disloyal, you have to choose a side, and then they could die in the ending, which is, you know, kind of stupid, because the fact that they're disloyal doesn't mean they suddenly become worse. I get the idea of it, though, and I do think it's cool that, like, characters can die, like, even Shepard can die in this one. Although, I don't know, I kind of wonder what they do when you import that into Mass Effect 3, because, you know, the Alliance is kind of like a second Lazarus project, I guess. Anyway, I'm going off topic. So, good approach. It's very different from the other 2 Mass Effect games, which is like a story, pretty much. The other ones have a story. This one is very much in the background. Like, human colonies are being abducted by collectors, and you have to figure out the mystery. And I'm gonna spoil this. This is the spoiler for Mass Effect 2, the big one. The reason why they do it, initially I thought it was very well established, because, you know, the humans kind of put a spotlight on themselves when they fought Saturn in Mass Effect 1, which they kind of took the charge on that one. So it would make sense that the Reapers and their affiliates, spoiler alert, take more of an interest in humans specifically, because they've kind of shown themselves to be very capable of assembling this threat. And, you know, Shepard is kind of like... Shepard is literally the only big threat that the Reapers have. So that makes sense why, like, only human colonies are being abducted, because, you know, they've been, the Reapers have taken an interest in the humans specifically, because of the events of Mass Effect 1. Makes sense. But then, on the collector ship, at the end of the game, in the suicide mission, or the collector base actually, I'm gonna spoil this, you have the worst plot twist ever. That's a big claim, but I don't like this plot twist, and the longer I started thinking about it, the more I just thought this sucked. The reason, like, people have, the game has established, people are being, like, harvested for whatever gold the collectors have. It isn't explained, like, up until, like, the end of the game. You know, like, you would think, what do they do with these hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of humans that the collectors abduct? Like, what is the point? The point is, spoiler alert, big spoiler, like, this is the big twist in Mass Effect 2, they are making a human reaper in the most lame plot twist that a BioWare game has ever had. And I'm very serious. This plot twist sucks. The human reaper idea is bad. Genuinely bad. And it results in a boss fight which is very mediocre. It's just a boss fight where you have to shoot at his weak spot, which is his eye, and then he ducks down again, and you have to fight some collectors, and then you have to shoot his fucking eye again. And the Reaper doesn't do anything. Like, the fucking Reaper doesn't attack you. He just sits there. He literally looks you in the eye, and then he ducks back down as you do enough damage to him. It's the most lame boss fight ever. Which sucks, because Mass Effect 2, the suicide mission, is literally one of the best moments in BioWare history, even in video game history. The fucking music, the gameplay, it's incredible. The suicide mission is great. The boss fight fucking sucks, and this is the final fucking boss fight of the game, if you're not including the Arrival DLC. And I'm getting kind of worked up about it. I don't get the idea of the fucking human reaper. Like, I think in lore it's kind of established that whenever they harvest like a galaxy, like they do it every 50,000 years, and at the end they create like a new Reaper. But so far, like, every Reaper you see, like the big ones, look the same. They look like bugs. What is the point of the human Reaper? How would it even fly? What is the point of it? Like, in Mass Effect 3 especially, you have these very cool troops, like the Asari are turned into Banshees, and the Turians are being turned into, like, the Marauders. And the general enemy design in Mass Effect 3 is so well done, because it kind of plays on the species that were, like, the original species, and how they turned into the Reaper, like shock troops. Like, the once beautiful and proud species of Asari, the race of Asari, are being turned into these horrible, twisted Banshees, and they're very terrifying, and they use these biotic powers, and they're like very strong, and just hearing a Banshee screech in Mass Effect 3 like alerts all your gamer sense that you have to kind of pay attention right now, because there's gonna be a big fucking fight, because these Banshees are fucking strong. Like, it's done so well. Like, Mass Effect shows it is capable of creating believable troops, just like the Darkspawn from Dragon Age. Like, the small ones are from dwarves, like the Genlocks, I think, from the top of my head, and the Hurlocks are like humans and all that. Like, BioWare has shown is very capable of creating enemies which are very believable in universe, and very, like, they don't just design an enemy because they look cool. They, like, design why they look this cool, and, like, in universe reasons. They are very capable of doing this. The fucking Mass Effect 2 Human Reaper, I don't get the point. Like, I'm having trouble even conveying why it is so shitty. What is the point of it? Is it supposed to be like Mass Effect 3 has those flying things? Is it supposed to be something that they drop on planets? Like, they just he just flies down towards a planet, like he just parachutes on and then he causes chaos or whatever. I don't get, like, what is the functional purpose of having this Reaper? Because it is human, we have legs, how would he fly in space or stuff like that? Like, I get the point. They have established already that every 50,000 years they make a new Reaper, like at the end of a cycle. I guess this is supposed to be that, but it doesn't make much sense, because we never see something like that again in Mass Effect. Like, all the other Reapers just look the same. There's some bigger ones, of course, like Harbinger is really fucking big, and there's some smaller ones. So there's, like, different types of Reapers, which they all look like, they all have the same shape. They're all like bugs. What is the point of the human Reaper? And the entire game is just building up towards this big reveal. Like, what do the collectors do with these humans that they take? Like, we know why they take humans specifically. But like, what then? They don't just like put them in cages or whatever. Like, what is the point of taking all of these people? Like, why don't they just kill them, for example? And then the game just goes in the most lame review ever. Yeah, it's just to make a shitty human like Reaper boss fight, and that's the game. That's the story of Mass Effect 2 pretty much, and it sucks. The main I'm not talking about like all the story. The main story of Mass Effect 2, like the reason why you even would continue playing the game, because the game isn't some fucking dating sim. Like, you need to have a reason to keep playing the game. And I have to admit, the way that they initially set this up is incredible, Mass Effect 2, because the collectors are very mysterious. You want to learn more about them and their motivations, and you know, who are they working with, how do they have access to all these resources, and why humans specifically. And it's established in a way that like, you get a lot of questions, and you want to keep playing the game to kind of reveal those mysteries. So it's set up, the main story is set up very well, but it just falls apart by the end. It kind of feels like they wrote this very cool beginning, but they didn't have the end already like thought out, so they just had to go. BioWare just went, fuck, we have been kidnapping humans for like the entire game, but now we have to think of a way, like a reason why they do it. And then I just thought, yeah, human fucking Reaper. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm missing some like important lore detail. Like, I haven't read up on my Mass Effect lore enough, but I don't get the point of this. And I'm willing to defend, like I have said for years, Mass Effect 2 is literally the best game of all time. I know, I know it's not nearly the best game of all time, but I love it so much. Like, the first time I played it was such a magical experience for me. So I'm willing to defend this game to my grave, pretty much. But this just sucks. The main story, like the big review, and it makes it very much worse in hindsight and in retrospect. Like, the second time you play the game, or like on subsequent playthroughs, you know that all the game is building up towards is like one shitty boss fight, or one very underwhelming one at least. You have the best like final mission of all time, and then there's a shitty boss fight, and then the game ends. Mass Effect has, I have to admit, Mass Effect has never been very good at boss fights anyway, but this just kind of takes the cake for me. Now, I have more to say about like the things I don't like about Mass Effect 2, also the things I do like, but like the things I don't like are more interesting to talk about, because everyone knows Mass Effect 2 is a very good game. Like, it's literally one of the best games of all time. Like, I don't like the collectors, for example, but I think depending on how well I manage to convey my points in this one, I might make another video on why I don't like the collectors as an enemy. As an antagonist in Mass Effect 2 that much. But anyway, that's just basically my ramble. This was very much a ramble, but I just wanted to talk about it today because Mass Effect 2 is such a good game. It has incredible characters, incredible stories. It's just that the main story is kind of shitty. Like, the initial setup is great, and then it just kind of falls like completely down in the end. The Human Reaper is just very lame in my opinion. It doesn't make much sense. Like, I have to like try to justify it for yourself. Like, why the Human Reaper? Anyway, that's basically my rant on what I don't like about Mass Effect 2. I'm gonna like remind you, Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I've played it 5 times. I love this game, but this kind of feels underwhelming to me, especially compared to the other Mass Effects. Especially Mass Effect 1 has such a good like main story in my opinion. This is like the biggest miss, I think, of this game, like the biggest thing it gets wrong. And then it gets a lot of things right, like the characters, and also like the that they can die, and like the different choices you can make. It's very cool. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this rant. Just something I wanted to get out of my system right now. So yeah, thank you. Goodbye.